Hi, welcome back to our YouTube channel. My name is Winnie from the Having Mental Health Foundation, and of course, today we are talking about mental health. Mental health is equally important, just like physical health. Think about it, how you know someone has depression. There are two major symptoms: loss of interest in their previously interesting activities, pleasurable activities, and also prolonged sadness. So, today I am privileged to host a very lovely and brilliant lady. You will attest to this, and she is Robina. I'm very happy that she is brave enough to share her experience with all of us. So, Robina, you're welcome.
Thank you, Winnie.
How are you doing?
I'm doing alright. How are you?
I'm okay. So today I would like to know, myself and the viewers would like to know, who is Robina?
Robina, the full names are Robinah Nakawunde. I'm a medical doctor. This should be my second year of practice. Yeah, I currently work with Makerere Lung Institute and previously worked with the Zambia Hospital, St. Francis. Personally, I would say I'm selectively extroverted. In other words, as lively, as comfortable as I feel around the particular people I'm hanging out with. So I can either be the girl in the corner, like somewhere behind in the party, or I can be the life of the party, depending on how comfortable I feel. And I say I love people. I'm a lover of people.
So today you have come out of your comfort zone. I don't know if you have a comfort zone, but you've come out to share your story, your experience with this topic that we're talking about today. And I would like to know, what is it? What's your experience with this? How did it start and when did it happen?
Okay. So speaking about depression, I would say, like, in hindsight, looking back, I was probably a depressed like adolescent and still in my adulthood. How did it start? I don't think I can point to one particular event that this is the day it started. I don't know. I can't say when it started, but at least I know a few things that might have contributed.
But around what age was
Uh,
it?
I was 11, like that is when I joined secondary. Yes, I should say around 11. That's when it started.
Okay, and how did it?
Yeah, so like 11, I joined secondary. Of course, I'm excited, but I'm also young. I'm in boarding school for the very first time. Making friends was really hard because I didn't have like an OB or OG, so I knew no one in the entire school, and people clung together. So I did feel lonely at the beginning, but yeah, I was a happy kid initially. So it was I just kept on moving. I was still excited to be in secondary. Then there was this particular girl. Of course, I was quiet most of the time, and people thought I looked down on them because I didn't talk to them, and it rubbed this particular girl the wrong way. So she calls me and she's like, you know what? They used to call me Ruby. That was my nickname. Like, Ruby, you know you're the ugliest thing I've ever seen.
Oh,
From nowhere, meanwhile, we didn't quarrel. You're so lucky, you're brilliant. Maybe in the future you'll make money and maybe a man will want you for your money. Otherwise, you're really ugly.
how cold.
Yeah, it was. It was. And I think the hardest part was I already believed it. I already knew I was ugly. So
Oh no.
she only reaffirmed what I already thought about myself. And you will end up alone unless you make a lot of money. I was always like, I had this very intense fear of being rejected, of ending up alone. And this girl telling me that, I felt like it was true. So I was terrified. But the thing is, as like we progressed, as we went ahead in school, now they started bullying me like full blown, like leave alone like the main comment. Occasionally, like you saw clothes, high school, you put your white shirt in a bucket, someone pees in it, so you find urine in your shirt. So you like think polish your shoes, you're ready for tomorrow, someone gets a cup of porridge and pours in
That's in
that
your O level.
level, yeah,
Proud.
around like 12, 13 there.
Mhm.
Yeah, so then like you hear whispers and people laugh like in your face. It was actually very hurtful. Even the people would have been friends with me isolated me because if the popular girls are bullying this kid, if you're her friend, you might also get bullied.
Oh no.
So there were a few girls that would have been my friends, but they weren't because they were scared of being bullied. Then I think the breaking point was around like Form 3, I was 14. I was always more closer to males, being raised by a single father and brothers. I felt comfortable that way. So this particular girl convinces half of the school that I was with 6 guys. They had their turns with me.
Oh.
At 14, I didn't even know. I hadn't even gone there
At
yet.
least you are innocent.
I hadn't gone there yet. So now suddenly people look at you like this dirty, I don't know how, but you're 14. So it was really, really confusing.
How did it make you feel that anyone?
So I should have felt maybe angry. I should have hated these people. Well, they really treated me bad for no particular reason. But I didn't. I felt like whatever they said about me was true.
And
Like it doesn't make sense because I know they weren't true, but I felt like they had the right to do whatever they did to me. Like I deserved it in some way. So actually I didn't hate them. I wasn't mad at them, but I was mad at myself. So the more they mistreated me, the more I resented myself. So there was a lot of like personal resentment through the entire period.
So sorry about that. Sorry. So what did you do after that? Because I'm imagining you're in your S3, that experience is happening to you. You go to your S4. What happened after that? Did you leave the school? Did you report them? How did you handle that whole situation?
So as I said, I did not really report them. As I said, I felt like they had the right to do these things to me. Yeah. So I did not report them. I didn't tell the teacher. I didn't report at home. But I told my brother I wanted to change school around Form 2. Like I'd had it. I had it. I was sad all the time. I used to hit my head just to be able to cope. Like it was bad. So I begged them home to like let me change schools. Of course they asked why, and I couldn't give them a reason. It was very hard to say I'm being bullied, so I want to go. I didn't feel like it was reason enough. And by like standard, a child is like thinking progress in school is measured by their report.
Yeah.
I always topped my class from senior one. I was always the best with a very big average.
Despite being bullied.
Despite all this, I still always had like AAs. I was on bursary throughout in that school. They always gave bursaries to the brightest students. Yeah, so now telling your guardians that you want to change from a school that fully covers your tuition, a school where you are winning, you are the best, your grades are great, was very hard. So of course it was blushed off and I felt trapped. I knew there was nothing I could do about it. I can't leave the school. These girls on average were about 2-3 years older than me. I entered high school so young. So it's not like I could fight back. I entered high school at 11. On average people were 14. So they had the upper hand. Yeah, so I couldn't fight back. I was small and I couldn't change school because my parents said no, there was no reason to change school. So I just told myself, count it one day at a time, maybe you will live someday.
Wow, I'm still imagining going through that. In fact, I cannot imagine it because I was not bullied, but I empathize with you so much. But I'm wondering, how did you hold yourself together and perform, and yet it's difficult because when people are saying all these things about you, it's kind of hard to focus and read your books, even though you're trying to ignore them. It still comes back to you when you're quiet. When you're quiet, it comes back at you, and you just think about it. How did you focus on your academics and just sail through your O level? How?
I can say I've always been blessed. I have not had to try a lot in academics like most people. Like me sitting in class for an hour was always enough for me. I never really had to read books. I had and still have a very good memory. But besides that, I could not really like sit and read. Besides what they say to my face and the whispers, there are also those voices in your head that keep on reaffirming what they said. You're ugly, you're good for nothing, you'll end up alone. So it was hard. That was the hardest part. What they said I think I could deal with, but only my self-hating voices in my own head, those were the worst. So at first, of course, I tried. I slept much more than I should. I ate a lot. I gained a lot of weight from then. But then, as any fix, you always need to go higher and higher. With time, none of that would help. And of course, I wanted to be able to study, right? So I realized that every time maybe I had a headache or any other like physical pain, I didn't feel the emotional pain as much. So I started like inflicting that pain on myself. So when everyone is in preps, we had these bathrooms. We didn't use that much behind the dormitory. I would go behind the dormitory, close close the bathroom door, open the water, and hit my head so hard until I had a splitting headache. Somehow that helped me trick my brain into like concentrating on this physical pain, for which meanwhile you can take a painkiller for.
Yeah.
And I didn't concentrate so much on the emotional pain. And then I could go to class and sit maybe through an hour lesson. So that's what I did. So initially maybe I only had to hit my head once, twice, and it would work. But then I needed to do it to inflict more pain to be able to not feel. So yes, I actually I'm still surprised how I didn't end up with a concussion because I really hit my head a lot.
Yeah.
I could not slit my wrist because you do not want to be. You, there are all these words they call you. They will say she's weird, she's messed up, she's all these things.
Yeah.
So I could not inflict any kind of like pain or damage that anyone else could see. So I could just walk into the nurse's thingy, sit there, and I'm like, I have a headache. And yeah, and so I used a lot of painkillers, and I got ulcers that I'm still treating up to now from the painkillers I used to depend on to just function. So I think yeah, it was maladaptive, but that's how I adopted that time.
Sorry, you had to go through that. So, my other question is, until now, you have gone through campus, you've come out. Did you need help? Were you helped at all? Did you seek for professional help
Yeah.
at all? Or are you still dealing with
So yeah, by the time like thank God after Form 4 I put my foot down, refused to go back to the school. I performed well, so of course the school gave me a full like HSC scholarship, which I turned down. Of course my guardians threw a tantrum, but then I put my foot down. I was put in a new school, and that's when I started healing a little bit because this school, one class were 1,300 students. No one knew me. Like it was the perfect cover. I could disappear in peace. So that's when I, for the first time, I started internalizing what I'd gone through for the past 4 years, and I realized I needed help. But you do not tell an average black parent to pay for therapy, right?
Exactly.
You
But
cannot.
just a little bit rewind. How did you realize you needed help at that point?
At the point. So you know how initially you're like depressed, you're sad, you're really, really, really sad.
Yes.
You think about all these things. I reached at a point when I flipped a switch. I didn't feel anything. I didn't think about it at all. I didn't feel happy. I didn't feel sad. I just went through the motions of life. Wake up, go to class, go for preps. Sometimes I forget to eat 3 days in a row. I passed out a lot in HSC, and they thought it was the asthma, but in actual senses I would forget to eat for about 2 3 days. So I realized I didn't take care of myself at all. I didn't feel excited about anything. I didn't feel sad about anything. I just felt empty. So I knew that wasn't okay. That wasn't normal. I should at least feel something. So that's when I realized I needed help.
So, who did you go to? Did you go to the nurse? Did you talk to your guardian? Who did you go to that linked you to care?
So I knew no one would understand first of all. Yeah, even me, I didn't really understand all of it.
Happening to you?
Yeah, but I knew there were people called psychiatrists, psychologists, or counselors. But then, as I told you, I didn't want to go home and have to explain to people that by the I need you to pay for a doctor because they will ask you where is the pain.
Oh, yes.
Like you're functioning. Still, even in HSC, I was topping my class throughout. So how do you tell them that anything is wrong? You're fully functional. So I knew I had to wait until I was an adult and I could find the help I need. So I just persevered through HSC, performed well, entered campus, and while at campus, I looked for the help I needed myself.
Okay. Did you know that there's a psychiatrist, or did someone tell you that there's a psychiatrist that you need to see? How did you realize that this problem is not it's not like any other problem? I need to see this kind of doctor.
Yeah, so I knew like I needed to see a psychiatrist in particular because through my entire first year of university, despite being I had a happy face, like I had a perfect poker face. had a happy face. I was very outgoing. I was fully functional by all like standards, but I was suicidal every single day. I wanted to kill myself, and I almost did. I managed to procure certain like sleeping pills that if you take in higher quantities, they kill you. So I bought them this particular. They were actually in Africa. It was recess. I crushed them, put them in juice. I didn't even bother like writing a suicide note because in my mind I was like, no one would really even care that I was gone.
Did something trigger you to go into a direction?
That's the thing. There is no particular like one point that maybe today someone pushed me. No, it was like along the way, small things pile, and you no longer know what the cause is. They blend together, and like I was done feeling empty. I wanted to end it. So I'm there. I already have my well blended juice. I'd like dodge lectures that day. I knew
it inside the juice.
Yeah, I knew it was a perfect day because people were in lectures, right? And they wouldn't be back until evening. So even if they phone me, I'll be dead by then. But then there's another girl, my classmate, who had not gone for lectures, so she came knocking at my room to get a percolator. So she comes for the percolator, then she starts a particular story. In my mind, I want her to leave already.
Yeah,
but she's excited about this story, and I've always been this polite person. I could not really bounce her. Then she decided to boil the tea from my room. Then she just went for her cup and took her tea. Then and she was very happy, very excited. Then later it took her about 1 or 2 hours and she left. Then
your juice is still there.
My juice is still there, meanwhile I haven't touched it. Because I was waiting for her to leave. So she leaves, and it's like like a snap. I realized what I was going to do wasn't okay. I realized I was lying to myself that no one cared. I had guardians at home who loved me. I had my nieces who had practically grown up with me that I had practically raised. I had friends I loved so much. So I decided if not for me, at least I had to do it for all those guys. So I went out of Africa, got a border to medical school. There is a psychiatry department, right? I entered the psychiatric department into a random office of this particular person I'd never talked to. And I told him I needed to talk to someone, and he gave me a seat. And I couldn't even talk. I didn't know where to start from. So I think I cried for about 3 hours. So I just sat in his office and cried for about 3 hours. And that was the first time I started like therapy.
Oh, wow. How long did it take you to go through that phases of therapy?
So yeah, I had like routine therapy for actually 2 years.
Yeah.
1 year,
medical school.
That was in medical school, yeah. So 1 year it was therapy alone, but you expect it to get better when you start therapy, right? Yeah. But that's when it actually got worse. I hit the lowest I'd ever hit ever in my life that time. Because before my coping mechanism was shut it down, run.
Yeah.
You replace everything you're feeling that is not right. And starting therapy meant I had to face all these demons I had run away from for years. So that was the hardest part. Did therapy for 1 year alone, then we realized the relapses were so much and each more severe than the other. So we agreed I do also antidepressants, the medication. So we added therapy and antidepressants for another 1 year. And yes, I got better eventually.
It helped?
Yeah, it helped.
Meanwhile, did any of your friends or your relatives realize that there was a problem at all? Did they realize you're on medication now, you're getting better? Did anyone notice?
No one noticed the change. As I said,
you were a happy child.
I was a very happy child. So even when I was dying inside, because I didn't want to bother anyone or people to feel pity for me, I put on the happiest smile I could afford every single day. So no one even ever noticed any particular day. I was the one who pulled out my friends every time they were like sad or anything. So no one really realized. So even when I started getting better, it is me and my best friend then who knew, because she had to go through all the motions with me. So I think she's the only person who noticed there was a change. But home, they didn't notice. They just knew me as a self-absorbed kid. Meanwhile, I don't really talk to anyone home. I eat only when I want.